a 100-year-old house, and this is the former maid's room. Big deal sink. Anyway, so welcome. I have notes of what I want to say, and so I'm going to start this by going through a PowerPoint presentation, which gives an overview of the project, and then I'll open it up for questions. And I'd also be interested at the end of your feedback. Would you like to see another webinar that includes an interview, editing techniques? I'm open. So with that, I'm going to hit the little thing here to do the PowerPoint. And then I'll be back, my face. Anyway, the year was 1902, and the National Society was meeting at the Sixth Council. It was before they called it. Anyway, you know the story there. Let me see. Anyway, Mrs. George Hale of Boston was speaking in favor of restoring the church at Jamestown. The members of the Sixth Council, after a lot of discussion, approved the restoration of the Jamestown church. It was a national project and was completed in time to commemorate the 300th anniversary of the landing of the first settlers. It was an exciting and dynamic project that engaged the entire membership across the country. Historical activities workshops today administer the historic activities and the national projects. The workshops are a wonderful opportunity to network with other states, share ideas, and learn new things. And this is a picture of Lenny Ogden. She takes care of the IDDL. And over here, there's a picture of, you know, the historical activities workshop set up so people can actually talk to each other. The National Oral History Project is a national project. Within that committee, there are several projects, the oral history being one of is what I'm going to talk about today. What is the Oral History Project? It's recording the stories of what we are doing now and what we have done in the past. It's creating a valuable digital archive for the future. Think about it. Wouldn't it have been great if someone had recorded Mrs. Lamar at this event at Sulgrave Manor? And you know, it's interesting. It's only been within the last few years that the technology has existed to create this kind of archive. What stories should we record? Whatever is going on in your society is a great story to preserve. I know there are some societies that have restored cemeteries, and that's a great one. You know, they get together for lunch and people talk about stuff. That's okay too. Some societies are huge and doing big, massive things, and they've got historic houses, and other societies are very small and don't have those things. But it doesn't mean that their stories aren't valuable as well. Sometimes I hear ladies talk about an inspiring member that's passed on. Don't hesitate to tell the stories about that person. It's better to record the story than let that member drift into the background and not be remembered. Some of the other things you can do is, what was the biggest obstacle your society overcame? How has your society grown your membership? If you're interviewing a dame, a good opening question is, how did you become a dame? And I have to credit this question to Jenny McTeer in Chicago. She came to a workshop. She went back to Chicago and interviewed 18 ladies, and she started each interview with, how did you become a dame? It was wonderful because the stories are varied. Everybody's got a story about how they became a dame. So does your society keep a scrapbook? You can take pictures. You can shoot footage of those pictures. Albums are a great time capsule of history. You can You can still use photos in an edit to mask all kinds of out of focus footage, people dropping stuff. And this is one of the things in an edit webinar. I can show you how to edit and take out of focus footage and put a picture over it. Nobody will notice. Also, if you have like your family photos from your trips, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all those kinds of things, putting them in an album actually preserves them in a way that won't be preserved if they're just in a box. And I can personally attest to that. My great grandmother had a whole bunch of pictures in a shoebox. And when my grandmother and my aunt cleaned out her house, they tossed those pictures onto a big bonfire. However, and then, you know, my grandmother and aunt told the story about doing that. But there was one album, and they didn't toss the album. So you know, this is sort of a slight family history preservation aside, is if you've got pictures on the internet, make a book, print them, put it out in an album. Your descendants will appreciate it down the line. Anyway, the best camera to use. I get asked this question, what's a good camera? And the best camera to use is the one that you're most comfortable with. And don't forget, if you have a phone, chances are great that you've got a camera. I can't overstate the value of a spontaneous moment. Are you one of the day, you know, perhaps you're on one of those Dame cruises and you're sitting next to someone who starts talking about how their society restored the cemetery. Grab your phone, push record, capture the moment. Don't be afraid to use it in a spontaneous moment. The more footage, the better. Let's see. Oh, cameras record light. So make sure the background light doesn't put your subject into the witness protection program. I got some footage that got sent to me and I was looking at it, and it was a wonderful interview. But the dame that was being interviewed was sitting in front of a bright window. And
not really, I can't get any sound.
It was, you know, it was delightful. One of the things she was talking about was how she had become a dame and how her neighbor had invited her to join, and she joined just to be polite. Anyway, it's in a way, it's a statement that was like in the witness protection program. It was quite amusing. Anyway, so just be the point being, like in this photograph that is up on the screen, what you see is the trees outside the window. You don't see who's in the picture, really. Release form.
Well, this is it all now.
This is a hugely an important thing to be aware of is the release form. Particularly if you're working with someone outside of the Dames, like a PBS station or Storycorps, or any of those outside entities that you can engage to help you, like a college program. Who owns the rights to the footage that's being shot? This is a big deal. From time to time, if you engage with an outside entity, they own and you have no rights to it. So be aware of the release form and if you're working with someone outside of the Colonial Dame universe, make sure you ask them for the rights to use the footage and to place that footage in the Colonial Dames archives. It's kind of a big deal. Okay, a word about gear and how to get help. Tripods help steady the camera and free you to be fully engaged with your interviewee. Once that camera, you push play, boom, you have your hands free. You can do all kinds of things. Because one of the things that that helps to be aware of is in an interview, you ask a question and then you have to stop talking because otherwise it's both of you talking in your interview. You step on their lines and it makes it up to edit. Interview. There's a YouTube video of Katie Couric, and right here, this website, there's a wonderful interview of her talking about how to do a good interview. I could go on for days, but she just covers it. It's about a 10-minute video. It's wonderful. If you have any questions, you are free to call me or email me. I've had ladies call me a couple times a week as they were working with their footage. I am happy to help. And don't forget to have that release form signed. How do recordings of a state society become part of the national project? Over the years, our archives have grown. And I took this photo a few years ago when there was a massive effort at Dumbarton to organize the archives. I mean, look, there's 120 years of archives there. We want these oral histories to be part of that body of work. When you send your footage to our archives at Dumbarton House, your stories are combined with other state societies. This body of work will grow in value as the years go by and will become an invaluable resource for future dames. If your society has created any oral histories, please send the footage so that it becomes part of our national archives. You can send it to me. I have an external hard drive that is filled with the footage that people have done over the 11 years that I've been doing this. Our national projects are really what binds us together as a national society. Please take the time to record your stories and include them in our Colonial Dame archives. Remember, the Colonial Dame story you saved just might be your own. Whoops. And that's kind of the PowerPoint. Does anybody have any questions?
Where do you get the release form? Is it online?
You know what? The Colonial Dames release form is on the website. If you can't find it, you have to dig a little. You can send me an email and I will send you a copy of it, which you are free to make multiple copies of.
Thank you.
When was that release form last updated?
You know, it's pretty generic and it's been around for a while, but it's like I said, it's pretty generic and covers the dames. I have a much more complicated one that I don't use because, you know, people's eyes roll in the back of their head trying to read it. The Colonial Dames one, I have a copy of it right here. It's very brief, and it says that you're giving an unrestricted gift, basically, to the Colonial Dames. And it allows the dames to edit and make something for the future. You know, you never know where this footage will end up. It's like 20 years from now, somebody might be wanting to do a huge 120-minute, 2-hour film, and this footage is an invaluable resource. And also, when you're filming somebody, you actually get kind of the essence of who they are. It's like how enthusiastic they are about their project, how meaningful it's been that they're part of a lineage organization. You know, whatever the interview is about, you capture more than just the story. You capture who's talking and what they have to say and how excited they are to be saying it. So anyway, point being, release forms are important.
Thank you.
I have a
My
question. This is Marjorie from Oregon. My question is about, I understand the hard copy albums and the value there because they're saved, but how has technology, the technology changes affected how you collect things? I mean, I have things that are little CDs, I have little tapes, I have tapes of different sizes, I have old movies that kind of came my way. How does the National Archives approach that issue?
Well, what I can tell, here it is right here. I have, because I've been doing this for 11 years, I have all kinds of technology that my computer won't play anymore. So there's a company in Des Moines where I live where they have all of that footage that has come to me over the years, and they're transferring it. They're making current technology out of old technology. And most states have a company that does that. There are also nationwide companies where you can box everything up and send it. I'm uncomfortable with that with our colonial Dane footage. So I get in my car and I drive it over to this guy, Jason, and he's just great. So each state generally has someone that does that. It's a business that has evolved because technology has evolved, and some things just don't play anymore. Like you've got VHS cassettes, but you want to be able to look at them now. So you got to take them someplace and have them updated. So as this project has evolved, as technology has evolved, and you know, for me, I've kind of been into technology, so I have enjoyed that aspect of this project. Anything else? Did that answer your question?
It does, and I imagine we also have to plan for the changing technology ahead.
I have a, oh, are you still asking a question? I'm sorry.
No,
I have a question. Okay. I have a question. This is Gibby in South Carolina. I have a question about when you, you know, do an oral history, do you transcribe it into hard copy, or are you just keep it archived as an oral recording?
You know, there are a couple of states that have transcribed their interviews, and so when they send me their little memory card, they also send me a transcription. It's up to you. You know, also, I wanted to mention that there are some states that have, like here in Iowa, there are libraries, like there's one in Iowa City that really likes to have copies of women's history. So, for example, you could take some of that footage and those transcriptions and see if there's other places that are interested in the footage that you have recorded. I know that in Davenport, Iowa, there was a colonial dame who was, well, actually, Barbara's on the line, her mother-in-law. There's the Richardson Sloan Library, and the colonial dames have archives there. Some of the Iowa interviews that I have, I will be placing digital copies with those files in Davenport. You know, so there's a lot that you can, there's a lot of places that might be interested in your copies. However, the National Archives, once they get this hard drive from me, I'm sure Dunbarton has someone that will keep that technology current.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Beverly Rowland, and I'm from Delaware. And
oh, hi.
Hi there. I'm new to this program. Not new to the program really, because I was a president between 1990 and 94, and we did quite a lot of oral history at that time. And we kept copies in our own archives and copies in the Historical Society of Delaware. And my question to you is, what is the best recording equipment that is now available? Because our equipment has gotten very old and we need new. So I'm going to stop now.
Well, my phone has a great camera in it.
Oh, the iPhone. Well, I have that, but yeah.
It's actually a really good camera. You use what you have. I have a big fancy camera that does fabulous stuff, but if worse came to worse and I was finding myself sitting next to someone who, you know, in a spontaneous moment, like I was talking about, I would take my iPhone and hold it like this against the side of my head and ask a question. Your head is a pretty good stabilizer. I wish there was an easy way to answer your question about, well, this camera is the best one. I would say that the best camera is the one you're comfortable using. Small phone or small cameras like, oh God, what are they called? There's a Nikon quick shot. I forget the name of it. In any event, it was like a $70 camera. And sometimes that's what I've got in my purse and that's what I use. It's more the person, all cameras are worthy if they have video technology. You just want to make sure you're not backlit.
Well, when we were doing this in the 90s, we were just taping. We did not have a camera. We were just we were just recording.
You have some of those cassette tapes? Oh my God!
Have a lot of them. We have a whole lot.
So does South Carolina.
Oh my God!
In our own personal archives and in the Historical Society of Delaware.
I have been trying to find those cassette tapes because I know that there's a bunch of them out there, and you can take them to your local duplication place and have them made into a digital file. You can send them to me. I will have them made into a digital file and send them back to you with a copy of the digital file. I'm so excited to hear that. I can't tell you. 11 years I've been doing this, and I have been trying to find people who have those. Yes, they're valuable. And you would take the cassette to a duplication place and ask them to make them into a digital file. It's a wonderful thing.
So do I try to organize those by date, and do I try to send you something that's organized? I would think so.
That would be lovely. But the bottom line is, you've got them. That's great.
Yeah.
I would love them organized. Yeah.
Okay.
But if you just want to send them, I'm happy with that too. Wow. That's
send them.
Hello.
Oh, you can send them to me. I'm, oh gosh. Shall I just, are you ready to write? I can give you my address right now.
I have my notebook.
Oh, great. It's Christine Bartley, 714 Bradway Place, and that's BRADWAY Place in Des Moines, Iowa, 50312.
Hello. I don't know whether I'm on or not. Chris, can you listen? Matt Campbell in Tennessee.
Oh, hey, hi.
Hi. I've attended some of your workshops before and have done a number of interviews in the years 2010, 11, and 12, and then another one after that. They're all on DVD discs. And I've made composites each year of the best moments of each hour-long interview of individuals. And I do think I sent you one once. I can't remember when, but I don't know that you ever got it because I never heard anything from you.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
Do you know if you ever received anything from me? It would be in DVD form.
Yes, and all of those, everything that I've ever received over the years is currently at the duplication media place, being transferred into all the technology is the same, consistent on an external hard drive. Thank you. I apologize if I didn't respond.
Well, I just wanted to know if I needed to send it to Dumbarton directly or if that was, already, if it's already there.
If I have it, it's on the external hard drive. And when I retire this job, that external hard drive is going to Dumbarton. In the meantime, I'm the one that's doing the click and drag if I can, or taking it over to the duplication place.
Well, since DVDs are easy to use, I don't know if that's what I need to convert again to something else.
I have a new computer. It's only about a year old, and some of the DVDs that I've gotten from like 2010 don't play on my current technology.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I have made this effort to find this guy, Jason, at the duplication place, who's working with me to get everything converted onto that hard drive. And when I send everything to Dunbarton, I will send the original material that I've received over the years. I will send that along as well. So the original footage that I've received will automatically go with the hard drive. They will always have the original material.
Yes. Well, I've got all these DVDs and I'm just wanting to be sure that I get them into somebody's hands besides my own. We've got them stored. We have them stored at our headquarters, which is our historic home in the basement. And also I've turned them over to our Nashville Public Library, and they say they're going to put them on their server. And one of these days they will, I think, but I don't believe it's there yet. But as far as access to that, you'd have to go there to be able to access it because we specified that we wanted it not to be online for the whole world to view. But anyway, I guess I need to get a lot of this in your hands so that it will be preserved going forward, not just in my home.
That was one of the things when I first started doing this project is people were telling me about the cassettes that they had, and oh gosh, they were under the bed when we moved. I think I tossed them. So sending them to me, we'll get them on the external hard drive, and
I don't understand. What is the external hard drive exactly?
Oh. Oops. This is my external hard drive for my personal archive, my personal photos.
Hold it up higher. Your name is covering it up.
Oh dear, sorry. Here, let me see if I can do this. Can you? The cord isn't long enough, and if I unplug it, it'll be a problem. What it is a little. It's a device that you plug into your computer that adds extra storage.
It's called a thumb drive, isn't it?
No, it's bigger than that. It's actual.
This is a thumb drive, a jump drive. You plug this in. It has this little. This little thing here. My external drive.
That's the form you'd like to have it in.
You know what? You can send it like this or a memory card.
Okay.
Whatever I get, I'm good.
All right, I'll get it in that form instead of trying to send you the disc.
Okay.
Okay.
That'd be great. Anyone else? Are we good?
I have a question. This is Eleanor again, and thank you for this time together. It's really terrific. Do you have a recommended length of interview? If you had your ideal interview for a dame, what would be the recommended length, or is that not a consideration anymore?
It's not so much a consideration, largely because sometimes people are done after 20 minutes, and some people can talk for hours.
Right.
You know, it really depends on how the interview is going, and if it keeps going, keep the camera running. Oh, and that's another thing. If you're filming and somebody's a little nervous, but they keep talking, and then you've kind of wrapped it up, keep the camera on for a few minutes, you know, a little bit longer, because sometimes the real stuff happens when they think the camera has turned off.
Good observation.
Suddenly they're relaxed and they're like, oh, phew. Well, you know what really happened was.
Okay, just a quick follow-up. A couple of years ago, I did an oral history of a woman who happens to be a dame, but that wasn't the reason I did it. So do you want me to send that to you as well, even though, as I say, the auspices of the interview happen to be from the Episcopal Church rather than the Dames organization?
You know, she's a dame, and she's
a dame,
done
all right.
Yeah, she's a dame, and she did something worthy of your taking the time to interview her about. So, of course.
Okay, I'll get her permission then. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, I have one more question. Do you have any sort of form that you use for your interviews? In other words, you ask some sort of basic questions first, you know, obviously name, maiden name, birth date, so on and forth. But do you have that in writing that you could send to us?
Basically, you know, the best way to think about an interview is if you're sitting next to someone at a dinner party and you don't know them very well, or you do know them and you want to know more about what they've done, it's kind of a conversation. So how do you keep a conversation going ever? And like in that kind of situation, it's not any different in doing an interview. And if you're doing a dame, a great way to start is, how did you become a colonial dame? You want to like get people sort of comfortable in talking to you, and you need questions that sort of get them to forget that there's a camera happening. And how did you become a colonial dame is a good one. If you know the person, it's like, well, how did you move to St. Louis? You know, how did you move to California? What caused that? You know, it's just things to warm people up and forget about the camera. There's no kind of right, wrong rule thing with an interview. I wish I had specific questions that get you going, but each interview is different.
Well, in Delaware, at least when I was really involved with it, which was a long time ago now, but I'm about to get re-involved. We chose people who were prominent in the community rather than necessarily dames. Some were dames and some were not dames. So we would approach it somewhat differently. That, you know, in other words, we wouldn't ask about being a dame because they weren't dames. They were men who were artists, or they were David Stockwell, who had an antique shop, or, you know, that kind of thing. So, but anyway, if you have no maybe you could suggest something that we could read outside of the dames that might be helpful to answer that question.
You know, it's interesting that Katie Couric, you know, go onto YouTube and search for interview with Katie Couric. She really does talk about how to conduct a good interview.
Okay.
Largely, it's you make the person feel comfortable. It's like a guest in your home. And how do you get someone to feel comfortable in that environment? Have a glass of water standing by. Ask leading questions. Her interview on YouTube is really quite good. When it comes, I could not do better at giving you a tip, except to say Katie Couric on YouTube.
Okay.
And she does somebody interviews her, and it's about how to do a good interview. It's the best.
Hello, Matt again. I did an interview this summer with a prominent woman in our community, and I had a coughing fit in the middle of it. And I'd like to know how to edit that out.
Oh, how you edit it out?
After the fact, it's already there. She said, should I stop? And I waved her to keep on going, but the coughing, is still in the background. So is there a way to get rid of it?
What program do you use to edit with?
Oh dear, I don't know. My son-in-law did it for me. I'm not sure what he used.
It's tough to get
it so much as it was just downloaded. I mean, I had it in my camera, and he got it onto the CD or the DVD.
Okay. I work with a professional program called Final Cut Pro, and there are ways to minimize background noise. There's no way to really get it completely gone without a lot of jumping through a lot of hoops. If it's on there, it's on there. And if somebody's going to...
I just, I'm not Ken Burns. I did the best I could. So.
You know what? That's the best that anybody can do, is do the best you can. And sometimes... I was working with somebody. We went to Washington and filmed Senator Dole. This was last fall. And the woman that I was filming, she was conducting the interview with Senator Dole. And she kept saying, he would talk and she'd say, oh, yes, oh, that was so great you did that. And I just wanted to say, stop talking. So you have to work with what you've got. And there's ways to minimize coughing, stepping on people's lines, talking, and sometimes there isn't. But you can do it. And one of the ways you can do it is in an edit process is you take still photos and you put it over the picture. That's another webinar, and I'm happy to help.
I just changed the color of my Outlook.
Hi, can I ask a question about Storycorps?
Sure.
Okay, sorry, I know you covered this off at the beginning, but I was fiddling around with the audio a portion on this. This is Margaret Clarkson with the South Carolina Dames. We have got, Storycorps was in South Carolina last year, and we did an interview with one of our Dames members. And I'm actually looking at the usage policies from Storycorps. And at the very end, at the very last part of this 4-page list of instructions, they say that we can sign an agreement with Storycorps that outlines how the archive can be used. And they'll transfer the interview, they'll give us the log sheets, the release forms, the photos, and put it on a hard drive and a CD. Is there anything else that we need to do with this to be able to use this?
Having not read it, I don't know the details. It sounds like they're willing to allow the Colonial Dames to have a copy, or at least your state society. I would check with them to say that you want to put a copy of the Storycorps interview in the National Archive, the National Colonial Dames Archives. And I would ask.
Yes,
That's
well,
the-
thank you. This is, I did ask, and this is what they sent me. So I think
Wow.
we're going to go back and ask again, because I just want to make sure before we actually upload this into the archives that we are not stepping on anybody's toes.
Oh, and you can, I can promise you, if somebody discovers it, they will let you know.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. So we will double check, but I just wanted to know if you had any other experience with them.
No, I haven't had any direct experience with Storycorps, mostly because I film my own things and I don't, I haven't personally worked with anyone else.
Right.
And I know that there are some societies that have worked with their local PBS station, and then the PBS station owns the footage. So you have to work with the PBS station to get the licensing rights to use it. And
Right.
frequently they will require that you credit them, which is fine.
This is Kathy Armato in Columbia, South Carolina also. We have a number of audio recordings that are stored at the South Caroliniana Library. Do you want those? And if you do you want them, I assume, transferred from the tape form to digital files?
That would be fabulous.
And you also want people that are not dames, but significant historical figures, stories, events, that sort of thing. Is that right?
Whatever you're doing is important. And I know that I have quite a few interviews of non-dames about World War II and their participation in World War II. Whatever you do, because you're a colonial dame, whatever you do is worthy of putting in the archives because you did it. This is something
Can you give us, pardon me, can you give us some idea of what the cost is to transfer something from an audio tape to a digital? I mean, what is the company that you use?
Oh, are you changing it too?
Digital media here, their price list has it has a little bit of transfer information. It's not hugely expensive. Like if you have some footage on Super 8 film.
I also changed it to dark.
The
I like the
3
dark gray.
is
Sorry,
about
I'm hearing background noise.
Yeah, I know. It's a little tricky. Anyway, a
Like
3-inch reel.
This is what I needed, guys. I just needed my Outlook to look differently.
I have no idea what you just said. Sorry, you're in competition with someone else.
I know, I'm sorry. Like the film transfer fees, I have 11 years of footage, and it's 11 years of footage that people have sent me, and it's quite a big chunk of footage. I mean, it's like the volume of pieces are pretty big. It's costing about $1,100, $1,200 to transfer all of it onto.
That's more reasonable than I thought. Thank you.
Oh yeah, it's not hugely expensive. It gets a little expensive if you're doing like regular film footage, like a Super 8, a 3-inch reel is about 50 feet and it's 20 cents a foot. That gives you any sense of like if you have film footage, on the little reels when you pull it out.
Yeah. Right. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else, anybody? Well, I have appreciated every minute of this, and I'm thankful that you were able to spend some time here with us, and I'm very excited that we've located some audio tapes. Wow. 11 years I've been looking for stuff. So this is quite a moment for me. Anyway, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
And thank you.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye.
Goodbye.